And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Other information on top of what I give you in this YouTube video, you can go to weather.gov. It'll bring you to a map of the continental U.S. with Hawaii and Alaska to the lower left, and then tabs for the territories. If you point and click anywhere on this map, it'll give you a very specific forecast for any location in the nation, including any relevant watches, warnings, or advisories. Quick check of the map on this Sunday afternoon. The good news here in the southeast U.S. as they recover in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene that caused catastrophic storm surge and flash flooding from heavy rains across much of the southeast. Conditions, at least weather-wise, have improved, but a tremendous amount of damage and over 60 fatalities. As we look westward, here's something that's pretty crazy if you're familiar with weather out in the northern plains. Temperatures are going to be in the upper 90s to lower 100s with critical fire weather conditions. We have red flag warnings covering much of Wyoming, Nebraska, North and South Dakota. We're going to have temperatures not just this Sunday but into Monday in the 90s to even a few readings around or just above 100 degrees with gusty winds and very low humidity, setting the stage for the potential for some very dangerous fire weather conditions. Also, excessive heat continues into parts of western Arizona and down into the southeast portion of California. Here in Alaska, we're watching a storm force low that's going to come together in the lower Gulf, and the front will lift out into the southern and central portions of the Panhandle as we go through Monday and Tuesday. There are right now high wind watches and warnings. Area that could get some of the strongest winds, Prince of Wales Island under a high wind warning. Also, there will be some periods of moderate to heavy rain across the central and southern Panhandle. Meanwhile, much of the mainland will escape this system. Mostly clear, dry, quiet fall weather due to a drier, colder northeast to northerly flow coming in off the mainland. And then just taking a look, solar activity remains relatively low. We're not anticipating any major geomagnetic storms or really big aurora displays that come down into the continental U.S., but we did have aurora visible last night. I'll show you that in just a second. New moon occurs Wednesday, October 2nd, so the sky will be good and dark. No moonlight to interfere with viewing. Well, Katie, one of the observers, Katie Turk there in Tok, took this image of the aurora last night. That's a beautiful period. It did enhance a little bit last night. It's not uncommon when we're near and after the equinoxes. We can find aurora activity to be more easily stimulated. There was no especially notable CME or anything causing this, but very nice display there. And it was 16 degrees. Very chilly in those clear skies, and some of the normally cold spots are going to be getting back down into the teens in the interior. Tanana, clear and dry this Sunday afternoon, 43. Look at that beautiful clear sky. One of the most beautiful clear skies I ever saw was up there in Talavana, southwest of Fairbanks, around mid-late September. And again, as we go back toward the Gulf, Kodiak Island, partly sunny, 48 degrees. There are going to be some very strong winds just offshore of Kodiak Island in the Kenai Peninsula on Monday into early Tuesday, though the bulk of that storm is going to be impacting areas of the Panhandle, northeastern Gulf Coast. Now, Sitka, partly cloudy, 54 this mid-Sunday afternoon. You're going to see the winds increasing there, especially on Monday into Monday night. Craig, under that high wind warning. We could see winds gust as high as 60 to near 70 miles an hour, especially along some of these ridge lines and peaks there around the island. And the temperature there this afternoon, 54. There will be periods of moderate to locally heavy rain rolling through there as we go through, especially Monday night and on Tuesday. So here are where we have the various hazardous weather watch warnings, advisories, and special weather statements. As I zoom on in, here is that high wind warning for Prince of Wales Island. Late Monday morning through Tuesday morning, we have high wind watch that includes Ketchikan and Metlakatla. We also have a high wind watch for the outer central northern Gulf Coast all the way along the northeastern Gulf from Yakutat to Cape Suckling. And first with the high wind warning here, areas of Prince of Wales Island, including Craig, Heidelberg, Ketchikan, Klawak. We are looking at winds that could gust as high as 60 to maybe even near 70 miles an hour along some of these ridge lines and higher points on the island. So secure objects so they don't get blown around. There could be some power outages as a result of that, and also this small chance of a isolated landslide if you get enough rain combined with those strong winds. So just be vigilant, be aware. And for areas of the northeastern Gulf Coast, all the way from Cape Suckling down through Yakutat, Sitka, and then also here in the inner portion of the southeast portion of the Panhandle, including Ketchikan, we have a high wind watch where winds could gust as high as 50, 60 miles an hour as that storm front comes on up into the Panhandle. So looking at the satellite imagery, at least starting out earlier this Sunday morning, we have the circulation of a low that's going to be dropping southeastward across eastern Aleutians, point of the tip of the Alaska Peninsula. Here is the hint of that low that's going to rapidly deepen as it comes up into this lower Gulf North Pacific area as we go through Monday and Monday night. And as I put the map in motion as of this Sunday afternoon, you can see the cirrus shield, the advanced high clouds coming in ahead of this storm. So that's the first thing you're going to see here along the Gulf Coast. You'll be able to look either southwestward or off to the south and see that cirrus shield as it overspreads the region later tonight and early on Monday. We still have a ridge of high pressure here across the northern, central, southeast mainland into the Panhandle. It'll begin to break down the high here, but we'll continue to see high pressure hold, so much of the mainland will enjoy fairly dry and quiet fall weather for a change. And looking at the surface map on this Sunday afternoon, here's that one low there at the tip of the Alaska Peninsula. Here's the hints of the low coming up out of the North Pacific at 982 millibars. By late tonight, early Monday morning, it'll drop to 972 millibars. Still a ridge of high pressure here over the northern eastern portion of the mainland along the Alcan border. And then for Monday, the low bottoms out in the 950s, maybe down around 953, 955 millibars. And around this low in the lower portion, central parts of the Gulf, North Pacific, there will be storm force winds with gusts to near hurricane force. Hurricane force starts there at 75 miles an hour on up. And this front will have also potential for low-level wind shear, those of you with an aviation background, as that lifts up here along the southern parts of the Panhandle later Monday into Monday evening. And by Tuesday, the low will begin to fill and track eastward toward Dixon Entrance, still producing areas of wind and gusty winds, but I think the primary wind event will be later Monday afternoon through Monday night and Tuesday morning. Back on the mainland, we still have a weak ridge of high pressure, generally clear skies across the Yukon Valley, almost from start to finish, and a couple of weaker lows from eastern Russia down into the tip of the Alaska Peninsula. This front coming in with the next system, it's a push of warmer air that'll quickly occlude as that next system works its way up toward the Bering Sea by midweek. So looking at temperatures Monday morning, we anticipate lows above 40 across much of the Panhandle, increasing clouds, though, across this whole region as the high cirrus shield comes northward. 22, though, with the clear skies. Copper River Basin will be quite chilly. Could be a little colder than that, Talkeetna, unless the north flow starts to pick up. If you notice here, the northeast to north wind increasing and holding up tonight, that'll prevent some areas from getting down to or below freezing. Then on Monday, here we have temperatures 50 to low 50s across the Panhandle. Winds will be increasing, precipitation increasing across especially the southern and central parts of the Panhandle. Generally dry because we have offshore northeast to north flow for a change. Highs low to mid 50s at best. And then Tuesday morning, lows generally stay in the 40s, low mid 40s across the Panhandle. Copper River Basin could see temperatures below freezing down into the mid upper 20s. And depending, again, how much the wind, if the wind falls off, we could actually see a little colder temperatures closer to or just below freezing. So keep that in mind if by some chance you've been able to hold on to some things in your garden, and you might be able to try and extend it a little longer. But otherwise, cooler across the Panhandle, near 50 to low 50s for highs. Periods of rain there. And back to the west, generally clear skies. Some lighter winds here across parts of the south central interior where you're sheltered. And then here across the north, Tok was 16 this Sunday morning. You're going to be back down there again come Monday morning. And a number of lows here along the Brooks Range, Arctic Village, could actually be even a few degrees colder than that, at least mid-upper teens. And again, temperatures should stay just above freezing along because of the breeze holding up here along areas of the Chukchi Sea coast and the Seward coastline. And then for Monday afternoon, could get temperatures back up low 50s, 53, 54 around Fairbanks. 40s, though, very common. And when we get into Tuesday morning, again, some of the normally cold spots will be dipping down into the teens across areas around the Brooks Range, in the Yukon, up the Yukon River Valley, as well as the Tanana Valley. And temperatures maybe a few degrees cooler for the day on Tuesday, generally highs in the 40s along the west side of the state, 45 there, Imanak, as well as Nome. We see temperatures maybe around 49 or so in Fairbanks itself, but otherwise 40s pretty common. For the southwest interior, lows should generally stay above freezing with maybe exception up in some areas around McGrath. Out along the Alaska Peninsula, lows near or just above 40. Afternoon highs, we're going to see readings mid-50s, say around King Salmon. Pretty strong winds, though, just off the Kodiak Island coast as well as the Kenai coast. And then for Tuesday morning, we're expecting lows down in near and just above freezing in the southwest interior, Bethel on up toward Anvik, and getting a bit below freezing there at McGrath. And then highs only in the 40s, maybe a 50, 52 degree reading as we go trail out Chicknick down toward Dutch Harbor. So the temperature outlook here as we get into the early part of October, October 5th through the 9th, centered on October 7th. So we're into the early part of October, is calling for temperatures to average above normal over a good part of the mainland, especially over eastern, central, and northern areas of the mainland. We're expecting near normal temperatures along the southwest coast, northern half of the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, and the Panhandle, and then below normal temperatures across the eastern and central Aleutians. Precipitation-wise, October 5th through the 9th would favor above normal precipitation over the southeast mainland, including areas around Prince William Sound, Anchorage, on up toward the east arm of the Alaska Range, along the northeastern Gulf Coast into the Panhandle, because what's going to happen again is we're going to start to see some lows coming back up into the Gulf. There are going to be a couple of very wet and windy systems coming in here, so the storm track will continue to impact this area of the state here as we go through the early portion of October.